All right. Hey, what's up, Ricky?
What's up?
What were you saying?
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about, and please correct me, all right? Hellenistic astrology. Is that the correct term?
I mean, it's a term for one kind of astrology, yeah.
Is it the kind of astrology that you have some level of expertise in?
Yeah. I mean, I don't hang out with the historian Hellenistic astrologers, but I've read several of the books in Greek. So yeah, I guess
Say
you.
more. Say more. I feel like, man, I
Well,
feel like,
well,
I feel like, I'm telling you, my thing with Libras, you got to be really good at reading between the lines, or you'll completely miss what they're trying to say. All right.
well,
So, yeah.
well. There's a whole built up, community around Hellenistic astrology, and I'm so busy with remediation and what I'm doing that I don't really have time to hang out in that community. So in a way, I'm not part of the Hellenistic astrologers because I don't hang out and do what they do. But because I've read the ancient Greek books in Greek, like you could say, I'm more of a Hellenistic astrologer than some people in that community because I'm the ultimate Hellenistic astrologer. Um, but I take more of a philosophical approach looking at the teleology side of things, where they take more of a historical approach looking at all the translations and things like that. So I'm kind of adjacent to them, but also am one of them, but also am not.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about this a little bit more.
Okay.
All right. Because I think you have a level of insight that other people don't have.
Okay.
Okay.
Hit me.
Okay. So, first thing that came to my mind when I was listening to you was the difference between a historian and a practitioner.
Oh yeah. Tell me about it.
Well, so yeah, but this is my insight, but I think you have more interesting things to say about it than I do.
Well, it's interesting because it's like there is this in the Hellenistic astrology community. A lot of them do read charts, but I do think their strength is in the history, and like being a practitioner of reading charts is its own skill set. It's like you can look into the scholarship of astrology, but that doesn't make you a good reader of charts. I think the ultimate reader of charts was probably Robert Hand. I think Judith Hill's an amazing reader of charts. And I do think I can read a chart like nobody's business. Like I think I'm a reader, you know what I'm saying? I don't as far as the text, it's like I learned Hellenistic from reading the source text directly in Greek. That's different than studying the history or and all that kind of stuff. But I think it takes all kinds to make, a field go round. So we need the historians, but would I hire them to read my chart? Absolutely not.
All right, can you say more about why it might be difficult for historians to be good readers?
Well, I think reading a chart well has a lot to do with skills like handling noise, which is a bunch of data in the chart, or um, getting to the inquiry, people skills. How do you take care of a human and heal a human? I think a lot of the historians are very, for example, Aquarian or they're more on the theoretical level, and my Pisces moon can feel a person and really feel what makes their aura sing or not, and so I think it's like a different skill set, like it's almost like water skills versus like air skills. I mean, I think you're a water moon. I'm sure you're a really good reader of charts. I mean, I know that you have helped a lot of the people on. Oh no, Kimber's the super Aquarian. She's mad at me. I think there are great astrologers of all signs, but I do think there's a more theoretical way to read charts with more a data driven approach, and then I think there's a more heart like felt like really kind of psychological approach. I mean, what do you think, Ricky? Now I'm getting in trouble.
Well, I want you to get in more trouble, because
You want me
again,
to?
I think there's problematic or troublesome insights that only you have, you
Yeah,
that I think are extremely valuable.
yeah.
I mean, it's something I hadn't considered, but it makes a lot of sense. The whole water and that's counseling, which is not exactly the same thing as reading. It kinda, but to me, if someone is a historian not even a historian, a scholar, that part of the scholarship should, in my idealistic mind, part of the scholarship should manifest as them being better readers.
Well, it's interesting. A lot, they study Vedic Valens a lot, and he was very full of data. I think he was an Aquarius with a Scorpio moon, so he was very Aquarian, and he did a lot of data. And but then there's parts where he goes off on these philosophical kind of rants, you could call them, where he talks about having a sound mind and not look, So I think he's really compelling because he kind of vacillates between the philosophical side and the technical side, and I think so. No, I want to get in less trouble and say that you can be a good historian and a good reader. I think they're just different skill sets, both of which can be learned. Like you,
Well,
it's
I don't want to say historian. I use that word, but I want to replace it with scholar.
uh,
Because to me, if they weren't trying to read charts, then they would be historians. But something about trying to apply it for me makes them scholars.
yeah, interesting. Well, Kimber, I do want to say that your Libra rising probably makes you very personable in the reading realm. Yeah, I think there
Come
are.
on, come on, come on, come on. You don't need this, right? Stop softening things, okay? We're not. This is my show. This is my show, okay? So,
Well, today we're talking about getting canceled. I'm trying not to get canceled.
well, I'm trying to get you canceled. Well, I
Do you
mean,
want me
honestly,
canceled?
actually, but to me, I think some people. I think if you speak truth, you're impervious to being canceled.
Um, yeah. Okay. Okay. So tell me more about that. So you really? What if it's a really harsh truth, though?
And then you're still impervious to being canceled. If right, the truth has to be pure, right? And if you are canceled, it's only temporary because the nature of truth, once it hits someone, even if they try to deny it, I had my mentor Gary. He calls it a wedgie. When there's a truth that someone is not ready for, but it kind of keeps coming back and haunting them, and he calls it a wedgie because it haunts you until finally you feel like you have to pick it out of your butt. You know, and so I think if you're speaking truth in this day and age, I think back in the days when there was one person or a council of people or a group of people that really made decisions about canceling people, then I think it was trickier. But now it's because of social media, everyone has a voice, and that's who cancels you is everyone. So if you're speaking something that's actually true, I don't believe you can be canceled.
Hmm. Yeah,
But it's
that's
got to be pure. It's got to be pure, right? I think those charged taboo subjects, even if there's a little bit of personal woundedness coming out in what you're saying, then your ass is going to get canceled.
very interesting. Well, yeah, like one of the reasons that I've gotten canceled from the Hellenistic astrologers is because I take issue with certain things that they do. Like they talk about zodiacal releasing, and my issue with that is I didn't see that in the Greek text when I read it. I mean, there was one little section that kind of alluded to a tiny. I don't know. It's just like zodiacal releasing to me is like invented in the minds of certain translators. It's not really, so it's like I've already gotten canceled, but from what you're saying is like because that might be true, make them only canceled temporarily.
Or it's in that small section until, right? Because it's a, you won't get canceled in the larger scheme of things, but there'll be certain smaller sectors who have a wound, right? And it does take time for a wound to heal. But a wound can't start healing until someone points it out to us. And if you're the person that points out the wound, you got strong Pluto, Scorpio stuff in your chart, it's just something you got to learn to deal with.
Mm.
But back to the conversation of to me, my approach to this debate is the proof is in the pudding.
Okay,
The
like the
proof
proof
is in the pudding. The proof of what. So this is where we can draw the line between a scholar and a practitioner. And now we kind of dip back into historian. Is if you're studying the way that, if you're saying this is the way that they thought about it in this time based on their environment and the access to information they had, wow, okay, that's historical observation and it's beautiful. But to say that these are the things that work and so we use them this way, I think that's what separates the practitioner from the historian is the historian things don't have to be effective. They don't have to work, right?
Well,
You
there's
know,
well, there's a
it
lot
is,
of that
I
actually.
think, but I think this is what creates the block, right? Because they're so attached to things that they believe work that don't actually work, that they don't really have, they have obstacles to being good readers. Where if you're a practitioner and you want, especially if you want to make a living doing it, then you have to be effective. So you have to use whatever techniques or insights or philosophy. I think that's really at the core of what I'm saying, that works for you, that you can receive from our ancestors, if you will.
Oh my God, that's such a good point. Like, for example, a lot of historians are busy uncovering methods. Like they use a lot of things like bounds and profections and all this kind of stuff, which is all interesting data. But when you look at how effective are bounds in making a good reading, they absolutely inhibit a good reading. Number one, because there are too many layers. Like there's too much data on a chart. It's like now if I was reading for an advanced Hellenistic astrologer, I might include the bounds because that's speaking their language. But you have to look at the language level of your receiver. And so, a lot of them speak to all these ancient techniques. Well, then this is how they sound intelligent, which is great. But at the same time, speaking to the language level of your client is the intelligent factor there. And so bounds, there are waffling calculations. There are two bounds. There are Egyptian bounds. There are Chaldean bounds. All this kind of stuff. Well, like the a lot of them obsess on these calculations like the length of life calculation, which involves a lot of waffling calculations. Like it's not a sound calculation, which you I know from reading the Greek text is like this is confusing and I would never use this calculation with a client. Now, one of the things that I think makes me a good reader personally is I've extracted the noise, which is the unuseful techniques, from really studying and being like, no, that's not useful, and helping a person that so I think the goal of a reading is not navel gazing. It is not mental toying with mental ideas. It is helping a person with whatever is their issue. And so I think you have to focus on what is the inquiry, what is the data of the chart, and what is the language level of the receiver. This is what makes a good reading. All this noise and all these techniques, that's not going to make you a good reader. That's like you're saying, inhibits a good reading.
Well, I mean, it depends. I think what I'm hearing in this conversation is maybe what they lack that you definitely have is a connection between the philosophy and the techniques, because they were created together, and so it can't be accurate if you separate them at all. Is that they were born out of a certain mindset, a certain worldview, a certain philosophy. And if you can't appreciate that philosophy, it's going to be hard, I think, to really use the tools effectively.
That is such a good point, because one of the reasons I'm such a big proponent of the teleological piece of the equation is I'm like, you keep presenting all these Hellenistic techniques, but people don't know about teleology, which is the philosophy upon which those techniques were used. If you don't understand that we're looking at the development of a mega manifestation of a person, and then all these techniques are looking at pieces of that manifestation, you really don't use the techniques in a way that teleology would prescribe. And so I think you're exactly right there, is that the philosophy drives the use of the techniques, and right now the techniques are just being used kind of willy-nilly.
Okay, so what does that make them?
The techniques, or the
No, the historians, the ones that we're calling out subtly in a Libra way.
you're just trying to get me canceled.
Yes, no, but I'm just trying to bring to the surface the reality, because you say they don't like you, but the reality is you don't like them, right?
Well, yeah, I just I would like
But is
to
that
I
when
would
I
like
say
to debate
like?
them.
When I say like, I don't mean personal. I mean the word like means like, similar, right? Is that you're different from them. So
Yes.
it's right, and to me, it's an important difference, especially if you take your art, your craft seriously. Is that my belief is you can't separate the philosophy or the philosophical framework from the techniques. You can't. You
Hmm.
can't.
Well, it makes me think of been the more philosophical. Like one of the things I love about Robert Hand is that he is definitely into the philosophical side of astrology. He was the grand poobah of transits, but he also gave the best philosophy lectures. And I guess I identify more with Hand than I do with the Hellenists. I know he runs with them, but I also think that like I'm more of the philosophical lineage of this study, and I think that's where I just am very different than the Hellenists. So I would ask you, where do you fall in line with these things?
I mean, I think it's kind of obvious. Is you know, like the astrologer that I've been most intrigued by is Stephen. And he's got Sun conjunct Jupiter, and evolutionary astrology is all of it. Every single thing we do is built on a philosophical framework of evolution. Everything and every technique, people don't practice it this way, but if you if you can read and you pay attention, you see everything ties back to the philosophical framework, and that's what makes it work. If you try to disconnect and things get blurry, and you don't have as much accuracy, you don't see as clearly.
Mhm. So Kimber's asking a question. She says what Ricky's saying connects to a question or comment that she had, which is, as you develop your niche or the things you're willing to take a stand for, the risk of getting canceled, at least by some, increases. So she's saying that trying to avoid being canceled can lead to inauthenticity. Do you agree with that?
Well, I agree with the second part. I don't agree with the first part. Right? This idea of risk goes up. It's from the outside, maybe, but if your commitment is to being honest and being true and being authentic, then there's no risk of being canceled.
Yeah, I guess a good question to ask is like who's gonna cancel us in this area of social media? Like it be like the whole crowd would have to cancel you at once in order for you to be canceled. I mean, can a
But
person?
people, listen, people are afraid that they're full of shit. And so when they think of being afraid of being canceled, then they're to me, what I hear is they're saying that they're afraid that if they put what they really believe in out there, that it's full of shit. And if you truly believe in what you say, who the fuck cares if you get canceled? And I'm only saying that, and I'll take a stand here, is that I grew up in a very Christian household. So I can't take it out of me. It was I could play with it, but what's put into me was this image every time I go to my grandma's house, which was often, is this image of this guy on a cross, that for some reason we just kept singing songs to and praising. And the stories I kept hearing over and over is someone who didn't have a point of view about being canceled. And we're still talking about him.
Wait, you're saying Jesus was like Jesus does not does not care about getting canceled? That is amazing.
It's true. I mean, again, it is only works if you have some kind of Christian religious background. If you don't, it's just blah blah blah. But if you do have that myth imprinted in you, right, that's something that you can refer to when a fear of being canceled comes up, because it's a purifying thing. It says it makes you check yourself and say, right, is this really important to me? Do I really believe it? And for me, I would add, or is this coming from a wounded place?
So do
Because
you
if it's coming from a wounded place, you will get canceled.
interesting? Do you consider that you got canceled from the NFL?
Nope. Mm-mm.
No. Okay. So
I
why?
left before. I left before. I left before. This is what I'm saying. I left before I could get canceled. So I didn't get suspended. I saw they were going to suspend me for 4 games, and I was like, right. No, thank you. And because I wouldn't get canceled, I just would go down a ring, And I was like, I'm good. And they invited me back. They asked me to come back, and I was able to come back, and it all worked out. So I've never been. Well, I can't say I've never been afraid of being canceled, but I have this sense of awareness of, again, where something is coming from a wounded place and where something feels more pure, and that it needs to be said. And so I think we have to be aware. I think we have to be cautious, but not go to the place of being afraid.
Well, one of the okay, I'll be really real about why I want to talk to you about this today. So I was teaching on Monday night, and I got canceled in some ways from the Portland School of Astrology when it was kind of a quit fire. I quit and quit trying, and then they slandered me, and they were like, "She's anti-trans, she's racist, and all that stuff." And that was their version of canceling me, saying I was these things. And the thing is, last on Monday night, I was doing a teaching and I was giving examples of Virgo people, and I talked about a Mars Jupiter conjunction in Virgo chart, which was like militant in certain areas, and transgenderism came up, and it triggered me of like when I got canceled, like, and I was like, but I definitely want to talk about gender because I believe in three spiritedness. Like, you can have a chart that's a three spirit, and you can have a chart that has multiple aspects of personality, including gender, multiple genders in one
Yeah,
chart. Like,
yeah,
so there's things I believe that are true and that I would like to take the world forward on. But then every
yeah,
time I talk about those things, I worried about getting canceled. And so it's like I
yeah,
want to know what your
yeah.
advice is on that.
Okay, so this is something about Libra gives a hypersensitivity, and I'm using this language, but hopefully we modify it. But I think just Libra energy gives a hypersensitivity to being canceled.
Hmm.
Right, or yeah, hypersensitivity to it, and I put the word hyper in there for a reason, and it's what I was talking about. There's a time where things get shaken up, but if it's right, and it's kind of like the jury is out,
Mhm.
right, and there is like this tension: am I going to get canceled? Am I not? Am I going to get? Because you're bringing up something, but this is the report card. How pure is it? If it's pure and it's something truth that's coming through you, then the verdict is always going to be innocent. Okay.
Hmm.
If it's coming from a wounded place or ignorance that you're putting out there that you're polluting the world with, then it should be guilty. All right. So, but there is that time where you don't know, right? Where you're not quite sure. And I think you have to be able to tolerate that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like pinch points and evolutions, and I think the hard part about being a teacher or an astrologer or a thinker of any kind is like sometimes people aren't going to agree with your opinion, especially during weird transits. Mars is coming up to Neptune, and then it's going to hit Saturn. It's going to be a weirdness, right? And so it's like perhaps I'm doing that transit with this situation. I literally felt the aura of the woman who runs the shop like tweak when I talked about it, and I was like, oh no, I can feel her
Yeah,
aura.
yeah, 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 exactly. That's what I'm saying. So part of it is creating an image of the person agreeing with you, but always putting that image in the future. Because to
Oh,
me,
yeah.
if everyone's agreeing with you, then you're boring, right? They're not learning anything.
Yeah.
As they preach into the choir, it's these things where you're in a if you're an independent thinker, right? It takes people a little while to agree with you because if you have original ideas or you take common ideas and you put them together in original ways, quite literally, people don't have the neural pathways to process and understand what you said to agree with you the first time that they hear it.
Yeah, I call it actually I have a name for it in the aura because I can feel it when I teach students. It's called like stretching. Like I feel their auras stretching. It's the weirdest feeling in an aura. It's like all of a sudden the aura gets a little bigger and there's like a lot of tension around that stretch because it creates a bunch of new synapses or something like that. And
Yeah, you
yeah,
can.
so I love what you're saying here, which is that if you're manifesting a harmonious situation in each case, manifest them agreeing with you in the future after the stretch is complete, basically.
Because that you'll actually make it easier for it to occur because you've already created an energetic pathway for it to show up. An example of this that I just popped in my mind is I do a lot of craniosacral work, and if you put like, in one of the things that osteopaths or really intense craniosacral therapists are like fasten is their sense of anatomy, their ability of structures in 3 dimensions. And so when you have your hand on someone's body, on their head, for instance, because you've seen the images of the structures, your hands can feel the tissues and the structures more easily. So this idea of having an image in your mind, it allows all of you to be able to perceive things uh, more easily. So if we have an image of someone getting us in the future, it creates a pathway that makes that easier.
Mm. Interesting. Okay, so there's two things I feel like I've seen you do that you could be canceled for, and I want to talk about 'em. One is meanness when you got in the fight with Fern, and one is sexual content. Those are two things that could get us canceled. I mean, the meanness, like the crowd just went wild. Like there was a Facebook post that got like 200 posts, people talking about that video. How come you weren't worried? Were you worried about being canceled during that fight? I'm not saying you were mean per se, but I mean, you did say she was full of shit. But I mean,
She was full of shit. Listen, come on. If someone is full of okay, listen. If someone is full of shit and no one ever tells them they're full of shit, that's not kindness. That's cowardice. Or what's the word?
cowardice.
Cowardice. That's cowardice. Yes.
So to be clear, because it was real in your mind, you don't mind being villainous on camera because you don't mind.
You say real in my mind. It wasn't about it being real in my mind. It was a fact.
Okay.
No,
okay,
no,
so,
wait, but no, I'm not being funny. When I say a fact, I'll put I'll describe it more accurately. It's an astrological fact.
which part?
That she's full of shit.
I'm sorry, it's funny though.
No, wait, but no,
She's beat you up for years.
This is important. This is important, okay? Right? And I have Sun conjunct Jupiter in the 9th house, okay? And I have the Jupiter opposing Neptune in the 3rd in Sag, okay? So the Sagittarius Jupiter energy. And if I was talking to someone and I felt that was active and someone said you're full of shit, you know, I would smile and I would say, yes, I am. Seriously, because to me, you can't be into astrology and be defensive when someone calls you on your shit that you can read in a fucking book. See,
yeah. We should all be open to being full of shit, really.
but especially if you have the moon in Sagittarius conjunct Neptune, right? Like. It's not a negative thing. I don't think being full of shit is just a side effect of having a big imagination and being a dreamer.
Yeah. Well, so I think the thing to hone in on here is what I saw in you and what I see in you is bravery, which is why I'm talking to you about being canceled. It's like you bravely are yourself, not seeming to worry about being canceled. And I would like to have a little bit more of that Aries, a dose of that Mars and Aries, because it's like, can I get a little of your bravery? Like what makes you brave enough to just be not contentious, because you're not really being contentious, but being boldly authentic in your feelings, whatever those are.
Okay, so I have the Sun conjunct Jupiter, and this is something do you think of fire planets that feel more active or more fiery? I think they're all related to courage. I think all fire signs, all fiery planets, all of them are related to courage. They're different types of courage. I think the easiest, well, it's easiest for me. I think the one that we have greatest access to is kind of the dumb courage, and I think that's more of Mars, Aries. And then I think of the Sun as the courage to stand up for the things that are important to you, to shine, the courage to take up space, the courage to be on stage, the courage to tell a joke, that requires courage. That's solar courage. And I think Jupiter Sagittarius courage is more of, I think, what I'm expressing. It's really that I believe in it. I don't know. I'm not I don't fuck around, And so if I believe in something, I'm gonna go 100% in that direction. And I can't imagine being any other way. And that's the Mars in there too. But the part of courage you're talking about is because I have faith. I have faith that what I'm saying is coming from a pure place. And if it's not, I'll be aware of it right away and I'll make a correction.
Interesting. So, okay, let's talk about sexual content. So, and this kind of cancellation is not necessarily from the crowd, but I do feel like there's the cancellation of students quitting your class because you're creepy or the and so I've talked to a lot of my students about this, and they're like, oh, in evolutionary astrology they talk about sex all the time, and like and like I see astrologers talking about sexuality all the time, but it's like when do when does I mean, are we when a student quits our class, is that a cancel? Are we getting canceled in that case?
I don't think so. I mean, to me, this and I have this conversation with my wife at least once a year. I say, listen, I say I know I'm a lot, and I'm not for everyone. So I wouldn't feel bad. Here's your chance. Clemency. You can take whatever you want. I don't care. You got it. Now, I know I'm not for everyone, and I don't expect to be. Right now, again, I see maybe in the future people will get it, and they're on their own time.
Mhm.
But I guess for me, I think the purpose of us is to be here, is to show up. And I think my job, whenever I'm around someone, if they're in my environment, to some extent, my job is to give them an experience of me. Hopefully, well, yeah. So I get to be myself. And if they don't want to be around me, I don't tie them up. I say, you're free to leave. Please. I insist.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm learning that lesson, which is, especially as teachers, we have to be ourselves and then let people come and go, which is kind of a
Mhm.
hard lesson. It's a lesson in like defying rejection because it's like, yeah, like I'll have students who like I say a thing and then they leave class forever, and I'm just like, oh, should I have not said that thing? But that was me talking. Like you hit up against my curriculum essentially,
Yep.
and you didn't like it.
Well,
Um,
I just promised myself that I wouldn't mentally or spiritually dumb myself down for anyone.
yeah. It's I hate when I lose like I'll feel it when I lose someone in class. Like I can just feel them like they don't like me anymore. Or there's something I said or like
That's why you have to go to the image in the future of you have. That's why you have to have faith that you're doing your work, you're doing your vocation, and your job is just to show up. How other people respond, how other people take it, is really none of your business.
mm,
Because right, we know at a certain age, the kind of work we do, right, you have to look in the mirror every day and be able to sleep at night. And that's staying true to the things that we truly believe in. And if anything, other people's opinion take us away from that. The suffering that you're experiencing from them, right, you start to experience yourself. And other people's suffering that we experience, we can kind of wake up and shake it off. But our own experience, that's, we
well
got to
and
take that more seriously.
like the sexual content thing, it just drives me nuts because I'm a Scorpio and it's like I'm not I'm not a goody two shoes. I'm a freaking rocker. Like I am a rock and roll heavy metal. It's just like, of course I know what sex is. Like, are you kidding? Like, and also I have a child, so I obviously know what it is. And beyond that, it's like I think a part of being healthy and mega manifested is sexuality. So
Especially if you have Mars stuff in your chart. Right, to me, I think this is how I get away with it. I just put up my chart, right? And then I say repression is not morality.
mm, interesting. Yeah, I really like that about you because I have a similar style. Like, I actually, for example, I actually fight sexless marriages. Like, I find that one of the things that makes people's auras the most deflated is sexlessness. And, like, so it's like, it's actually a moral crusade I'm on to make sure that people, like, take care of their sexuality. And so I really try not to be creepy, but I actually believe in the curriculum of sex education, and including that in our work that we do. But then I do worry about getting canceled for that.
But when you say creepy, again, I think this is your hypersensitivity to other people's stuff. You know,
Yeah. Well,
right? It's like creepy. What? Sex isn't creepy.
yeah.
Especially if you're. To me, it's creepy when you're not. Well, having it, anyways. But yeah, I don't think sex is creepy, especially in the context of teaching. I think it
Mhm.
actually makes the teaching go deeper. It makes it more alive, and it gives you a greater sense of authenticity. as a practitioner, because it's like you're saying, having sex, not having sex, even though we're not supposed to talk about it, we all know from a biological perspective that it takes up a whole lot of energy, and it had to have, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So it is something that, again, if we don't talk about it, I think we all suffer because of it. And getting people more comfortable talking about sex, right, will help improve their sex lives. And right, and
Well,
again, that's my crusade too.
I worry about the technicals of getting canceled. Of like, is YouTube going to shut us off because we talk about these topics? I mean, it's not even the students or the crowd. It's the YouTube channel. I mean, I got canceled from Facebook, and I'm just fine. I'm fine and free, and like all these things. So I guess I have to look at it as like, if we got cut from YouTube, like we would be fine and move on to the next chapter. I mean, do you ever worry about getting canceled from YouTube and things like that?
No, I'm kind of embarrassed, but I shouldn't be. You know, my dad's a preacher, and my grandmas on both sides are preachers, and my uncle's a preacher. My mom quotes scripture all the time, and so I just so I feel like the story of when basically the disciples went to Jesus, and Jesus said, "Go spread the word," and they're like, "But what if we get canceled?" And Jesus said, he said, open your mouth, right? And the good Lord will grab your tongue and the right words will come out and you will be fine. Don't worry about it. Just speak truth.
Oh,
It's like, to me, be cautious, be strategic, but don't be afraid.
yeah,
And
okay.
I think that's the one thing. Be strategic, right? Recognize that what you're gonna say is gonna trigger people, and don't be triggered by that, or you will be canceled. But recognize that what you're gonna say is gonna trigger people, and be strategic about it. Because if you realize you got to take care of people, you don't just trigger them and say sorry, good luck. I think you have to be, I think you have to be aware, but and cautious and strategic, but not afraid.
Well, I love that. Like with my thing on Monday night about like gender and stuff. I talked to my team about it. I talked to my kid about it. I talked to the woman in the shop about it, and I wrote up a best practices, and I was like, all right, I'm going to use this disclaimer. Like here at the Moyer Press, we work towards gender euphoria. We are not only
Yeah.
anti-transphobia, but we are trying to manifest, like these beautiful things. And like I think that actually makes me a little bit stronger because I'm like ready for the next time I want to bring it up because I'm like, disclaimer, here we go. Like, and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I love what you're saying about being strategic because I think if we worry less about getting canceled and allow for adjustments, like it's almost like chiropractic adjustments from the universe of just like that makes you a better teacher is like being adjusted and like getting better and better. Um yeah, but I guess being canceled would be like being worried about your partner divorcing you because you had a bad day at your marriage,
Yeah, that's being canceled. Yeah.
yeah.
Or your kids. But I kind of want my kids to cancel me.
Oh my god, please cancel me. That's funny.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you. I mean, are you sure?
oh my god, actually, that's so funny. Last night, my daughter's like, she said to Shane, she's like, you're canceled, and he's like, oh, thank God. He's like, I'm taking a nap with my Mai Tai. Okay, then how about this? Political topics. So, okay, are you
Mm.
ever afraid to talk about like the political regime or what's going on in that realm?
Well, I wouldn't say afraid, but for me, it's like, what's the point? If I had like if I had a valid point that I believed in, then and I felt it was useful to express it. 100%, I would go all in. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this came up with one of our artists, Jenna. She wanted to talk about the Charlie Kirk thing, and she was really afraid to talk about it. And I think for a lot of our artists coming up, I think they do worry about the implications of talking about political things or like,
Oh man. So this is I think this is great. I had I felt some trepidation. I was talking to a group and I put up Donald Trump's chart. You know? And I kind of started going slow and I was like, this is an amazing time in history. Like, why not lean in? And because this is my problem. Like, to me, like for me, if I say politics or astrology, because they're both, in my opinion, religions. Right? I'm not a political religion person. I'm an astrology person. So my perspective towards politics is from an astrological lens, and it's fascinating to me.
Mhm.
Because I don't take a side either way, and I'm not afraid to just speak what I see. I'm not worried about it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, from my on the schizophrenic side of things, sometimes I worry that the FBI is watching us, and of course, like this is. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm being watched because of the level of things I can do. Like I can remote view a chart, like and feel auras, and I'm like, why isn't the FBI watching me? But do we ever get worried about being canceled by like organizations like CIA or FBI?
Again, I come back to the truth. To me, if the FBI or CIA is watching me, they're like, "Damn, this dude's onto something," and they bring me in. It's gonna become like because I can help them. So I'm okay with
That's kind
that.
of where I'm at. I'm just like, thank you, FBI. You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I do think I had this idea, and maybe one day, I think if you brought in an astrologer, a reputable astrologer, and this is like let's say it's a murder case. And I had this idea because there was a murder case, a big one, not too far away from where I live, and so the astrologer doesn't know any details about the story, about the case, and you give them the chart of the perpetrator of the defendant, and you say, do you see any connection between these two charts, and what do you see on this day? And the astrologer has shares what they see, and that becomes evidence. Again, it's not going to be the only piece of evidence, but I think it's an interesting piece of evidence.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like I get I kind of am getting this vibe of like, what is the opposite of being canceled? It's like being included. You're saying like, well, if the FBI was watching, maybe they'd include me and like have me like help them with some cases. Like, I
That's what
think
I'm thinking. To me, I think the fear of being canceled is thinking that you're not worth anything. To me, if someone, so I did, this is a good example of being canceled. It's real life example. Is I did Big Brother. It's a reality show, and you get canceled. You get kicked out of the house. Okay, um, you get kicked out of the house, and so before we went in, we were sequestered for a couple of days, and we had to do a whole bunch of interviews. And what they were one of the questions they asked over and over again is, what are you going to do? How are you going to stay in the house? What are you going to do to not get kicked out? And for me, I just said, I'm just going to make myself useful. I'm going to make myself valuable. So when they think of getting rid of me, there's something that I offer that they're like, I'm not going to. Right. And there was one point where I had a nemesis. Tom Green was my nemesis. And he was the person that was choosing who was going next, who was getting kicked out next. And I knew, right? I was his biggest competition, and we were going clashing back and forth. I knew he was going to get rid of me. Um, and the day before he chose who was going to get kicked out. They have something called a veto, where you can give someone something where they're free. They don't get kicked out. And Tom gave it to me. So I thought he was going to kick me out, but he did the opposite, and he saved me, because I made myself valuable to him, right? That there was something that I admitted that when he thought of getting rid of me, he kept thinking there's something valuable about this guy that I can't get rid of. The NFL, I tried to get canceled. You know how many drug tests I failed? And they still wouldn't cancel me. They still kept asking me to come back. So I think if you have something to offer, if you have something of value to offer, that's the greatest defense against being canceled.
yeah.
Holding yourself back, I don't know. I don't know. Be strategic, be intelligent, but don't be afraid.
Yeah, I think I actually have the opposite feeling of like I'm not canceled. I'm chased around until I go back to work. Like I've tried to go off the air, and it's like my phone just blows up with like, "Where are you? What is going on?" And it's just like I'm like, "Fine, I'm going back to work." But like, yeah, I mean, in all reality, like you and I have the opposite effect of like being too included. Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
well, and
Exactly.
okay, so religion is, I guess, another one that people fear about getting canceled over. But like preachers just full on talk about religion, just like, oh my god, like just they don't worry about getting canceled. But sometimes they say things like anti-gay statements, like, only you should only marry, somebody of the opposite gender, and like God didn't make Adam and Steve, and they're not. Are they worried about in that case?
well, because from their belief system, they're speaking what they believe to be true.
Yeah.
And I think that's the Jupiter courage, where they're not afraid. Again, at least in their religion, okay, they're martyr. In early Christianity, it said the people first in line to go to heaven were the martyrs. You know, so they have people trying to get canceled.
Interesting. Dude, that's a good thing. Kimber, this is your homework. Try to get canceled.
Try to get canceled. Yes. Try to get canceled.
Dude, how can you get canceled anymore? Jeez. Can you think of anything that might get us canceled?
Us?
Yeah.
If you bring on people like if you do that again, you definitely would get us canceled. I think that's what you're unconsciously trying to get us canceled. No. I think you just were trying to get back at her, but you couldn't, so you hired a mercenary to do it. You should at least Venmo me like $200 or something for that one. for that hit job. Come on.
Dude.
I was one of your bodyguards. I didn't even know. At least your bodyguards get paid. Of course, wink, wink. Of course, you didn't know that would
happen. Yeah. My bodyguards, they help me not fights while I don't get canceled.
Oh.
Kimber is saying that she wishes people could disagree or debate without cancel culture. Well, this is one of the reasons that the WWF is one of my favorite production. Like, that's my production idol. Is like, it's a fighting genre. You know, like you don't get canceled for WWF.
I got a call. I'm sorry, I might get canceled for this, but I have to call out. Well, I won't. But seriously, I've noticed it's like being a guy and doing a whole bunch of Marzi active fighting stuff. You know, it's like if we're sitting in a locker room and the guys were talking, they were like, "I wish we could play football and it didn't hurt. I wish we could." We would look at him and be like, "What are you talking about?" Right? And so it's like part of Mars, part of the whole my opinion, part of Mars and the archetype is that yes, right? Is that there's consequences, right? It's not easy. There's going to be difficult, but that's part of it. So to me, if you should be canceled, then you should be canceled. But you shouldn't be afraid of it. Because to me, if you're canceled, it's not like forever. If you're canceled, you need to go home, right? Go in your room, lay in the bed, and curl up and reflect on what's going on with you, and bounce back. It's like some people are so afraid of their ability to bounce back and get over things that they're just so afraid all the time. And if I'm being honest, not kind, but that makes me sick. It's disgusting.
What? Well, people can't bounce back?
Well, no, that people allow fear to be so much more powerful than anything else.
Yeah, interesting.
It's like, to me, when someone says I'm afraid, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And
yeah, well, okay, now I'm thinking, Ricky, about how sometimes there's someone I'm working with right now, and this person's trying to kind of come up, but like I kind of am like, I might need to cancel this person, but it's like now I'm not trying to be the canceller of people, but I think there is also this thing when you are kind of running the ship on your CEO or whatever, you have to figure out when you're going to cancel someone from your team or whatever. I mean, like, is there anyone you've ever had to cancel?
Yeah, all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm kind. You know, I point it out and I allow it to deteriorate on its own. I don't usually feel an urgency to need to like clip it or anything. And I give people enough rope and say, hey, however long you need, but just know that, right, there's not really a future here.
Interesting. Yeah, there was I had a cancel with this girl I was making music with, and like she broke plans on me twice in one day. It's a long story about how it went down. There's like kind of some like lying involved and stuff, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna cancel us for the next two rehearsals," and then she canceled me on that, and I was like, "That was a quit fire double cancel," like. But I mean, I was watching the sermon the other day, and he was talking about how we could rejoice in the people that leave us, like we could rejoice at the endings of things because whatever is supposed to go will go, and maybe that's part of not fearing being canceled is like letting the will of creation have its way as well. I mean, it's better to be
Yeah,
authentic, what you're saying,
yeah,
and
yeah.
let things happen as they should.
And it's funny, like again, the eat for me, the easy analogies um, are religious or spiritual, and what you're the way you just said that, it's making me think of the 12th house, and then rejoicing in what we lose. Right, that's a successful passage through the 12th house. The way Steven says it is, it usually takes some time, but the feeling is losing that thing was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, so maybe we could destigmatize. It's like if someone canceled me, I'd be like, yeah, well, my soul was longing to be canceled. Like you don't have to, but I
Yeah,
think
it's
this.
true. That's true. But that, I mean, again, from my astrological perspective, if you're canceled, it's because your soul was longing to be canceled.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and one of the real good lessons from today is like the bouncing back. I mean, you definitely dropped a few nuggets today, and one of them was like imagining the person agreeing with you in the future. That was really cool, and then also the bouncing back. I mean, you are like a king of strength, and I think that's one lesson I'm going to take is like, hey, listen, if I'm canceled, I will bounce back. Whether
Yeah,
do you think there's a certain quality of person who is like uncancelable?
Trump.
Okay, okay, I'm taking lessons from him then.
Yeah.
If the place I'm teaching class at canceled me, I think Andrew
Well,
Gert
I
should.
think when I say Trump is like, again, he's this. We talked about the Sag energy. Like he doesn't have any doubt that he's right.
Yeah. Well, that's Mars and Leo rising is you can't be taken down. I think that's amazing,
Again,
actually.
it's the Mars, so he'll bounce back and he believes it. But I think this is more of what I was saying of the Jupiter Sagittarius kind of fire. If you show no doubt, there's no energy there to pick it up. That's why I'm saying truth. And truth, there's not a whole truth. There's an inner kind of frequency or vibration to truth. And if you truly believe in what you're doing, that's what's going to radiate, even if it's full of shit. Because because it's radiating outward from an inner sense of I have no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that people pick up on the energy of self-doubt more than anything, and I think that that's more inclined to get you canceled than anything. Um, yeah. Yeah, I
Because when
bet.
you have self doubt, you overcompensate, and that's when you get in trouble. Just
Yeah.
shut up. If you have doubts, just wait. Wait till those doubts are cleared up before you speak.
Yeah, and I would think I think part of us producing ourselves, right, is that you're uncancelable in a way because if we got shut off YouTube, we would pop up somewhere else, and that's what I want to do. Is like if I get canceled from this place I'm teaching, I'll pop up somewhere else and teach. It's like you're not going to cancel me, like until the
Yeah.
day I die, which is the big cancellation in the sky. I mean, that's
Well, I mean, it seems like you're still fighting it. You'll get to the point where you're like, okay. I guess that wasn't part of my. I guess I was wrong about that. I guess that wasn't part of my story. Oops, missed that one.
oh my god, I'm never. That's it. I'm never canceling you. I'm just
I wish someone would try.
I'll cancel you if you get tired. Just let me know and I'll cancel you.
Someone would have to like let me know I got canceled. I wouldn't even know. You were
There's
canceled. Was I? Oh, damn.
You're stuck with Wednesdays at 2 because we're not canceling you.
Okay. All right.
All right.
All right.
Well, super good to see you, Ricky.
Yeah, this was fun.
All right. I'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye bye.